Hey folks, welcome back to Three's In. So in the mid 1990s, probably 1996 perhaps, I received a bid as a first officer on the Boeing 757. Now I really enjoyed that airplane. I always thought it was kind of a majestic looking airplane, sleek, had all the power you'd ever want, and it was just a joy to fly. Um, my training went fine. I loved the academics. Had a great academics instructor, and then enjoyed the simulator. And then we got to the IOE, the initial operating experience. Now the IOE is where you go out with a captain, a check airman, and he or she will sign you off, and then you're cleared to go and fly the position that you're holding the bid for. In my case, first officer. So I get tagged to fly with Captain Lisa Daly, and I'd seen her around. I knew who she was. I'd never met her before. She was a very capable captain. Actually, kind of enjoyable to fly with once you crack through that demeanor of hers. She was all business, but every now and then I'd say something off the cuff and get her to smiling over there, and we really had an enjoyable trip. So we're coming back into Detroit, and I said, well, Lisa, are you done when we get back? And she says, no, I've got another IOE to go out on. And I said, well, who are you going with? And she said, well, I'm going with a fella named Don Kirmus. She said, do you know him? And I said, oh, yeah. I said, Don was in my 7.5 class, and like me, he's former Air Force. And I said, as far as I know, just really a good guy. She says, oh, great. She says, then I'm looking forward to it. I said, well, there's one thing I think you probably should be aware of. And she said, what's that? And I said, well, Don's a little sensitive about only having one eye. And she kind of looked at me and she says, one eye? I didn't think you could fly with just one eye. Well, I said, well, it's kind of like Wiley Post, who was a real famous aviator who only had one eye. So she got to thinking about it and thought, you know what, it is feasible. Who knows? Anyway, I said, well, but she didn't bring it up. She didn't go any further than that. I said, yeah, I said, he's just a little sensitive about that. I said, he caught a splinter or something when he was doing some woodworking years ago. But I said, you wouldn't know it just to look at him, but I said, he's real sensitive if people stare at him. And I said, that's the only thing I know about him. And she says, well, thanks a lot for telling me. She says, I really appreciate that. And I said, yeah, well, enjoy your trip, and perhaps we'll see you around someday. And I forgot about it. I just got off the airplane, went home, and forgot all about it. Until about 6 months later, I run into Kirmus. He pulls me aside, and he says, what in the hell did you tell Lisa Daly? And I said, I forgot about it, okay? So usually when I do these kind of things, I drop them and let them go. So anyway, he's sitting there. He says, she kept staring at me and staring at me. He says, I began to wonder if I was screwing up or something. He said, I was getting really kind of self-conscious about it. The more she just kept staring at me. Finally, I had to say, is there something I've done that's offended you? And I said, no. No, she said, no, you haven't offended me at all. He said, well, why do you keep staring at me? And she said, well, Bob Holliger told me you just had one eye and you were really sensitive about it. And he said, I just shook my head. He says, I explained to her, no, I have two eyes. They work both fine. And he said, after that, we must have laughed for about 50 miles. But anyway, that was so funny. And I just love doing things like that. So anyway, thanks for stopping by. It's good to see you today.